wounding Bourke and capturing him and his colleagues. All were tried and sentenced to various terms of imprisonment. Jeremiah Bourke was still alive when his children's generation started their revolt in 1920, and Bourke's home in Templederry was a safe house where the famous Tipperary fugitives Sean Tracy, Dan Breen, James Robinson and Sean Hogan were sheltered. In the 1918 general election, he was one of the many Tipperary proposers of Joseph MacDonagh's candidature. He became a respected judge in the Sinn Féin court, set up to replace the ascendancy-controlled courts, which had sentenced him and his Fenian colleagues 50 years earlier. He was noted for his impartiality and intervened in several cases where he saw sectarian motives behind operations planned by the IRA. When he died in September 1933, Jeremiah Bourke was the last survivor of the Fenians of 1867. And moving back to 1867, Borrisoleigh was actually one of the hotbeds in Tipperary of the Fenian Rising. The rising was set to take place on the 5th of March that year. And on the night before, up to 2,000 men are said to have marched through the streets of Borrisoleigh as they headed for Barnan, where they set up an encampment. And one of the people that was working in the shadows of Barnan at that time was a young woman by the name of Joanna Smith. Joanna Smith was just 20 years of age, and she was actually a school teacher in Barnan. And when she saw those men gathering on the mountain and remaining there for a number of days, she decided that, well, something had to be done for them. And she encouraged the children that she was teaching to bring food to the school. And at risk of both her job, her freedom, and her life in Ireland, she actually led the children up the hill to feed the Fenians while they were remaining in Barnan. Now, just a few months after, Joanna Smith married a man from Templederry by the name of Patrick Reardon, and went on to rear a family in the village of Templederry, having given up her life as a school teacher. When she died, she was actually buried here in Glenkeen in the Reardon grave, which is just back here behind. It's just on the edge of the roped off area, surmounted by a small Celtic cross, we'll say, above the headstone. And I'd just like to read from you the Guardian of the 4th of the 4th, 1914, when Joanna actually died. Sorry, it's actually the Nina News. And it just, simple obituary, the date of Mrs. Reardon, Templederry. It is with feelings of sincere sympathy we have this week to record the death of the above named estimable, pious and patriotic good woman, who in her early years, while principal teacher at Barnan National School, she and her pupils attended to the wants of the devoted Fenians and the Devil's Bait Mountain in their struggle for freedom in 1867, and which she treasured as one of her patriotic achievements to the close of her demise, and the feast of the Annunciation on the 25th of March, which cast a gloom over the historic parish of Templederry. On Friday, the remains were removed to the beautiful church of Templederry, where on Saturday morning, office with solemn requiem mass was celebrated for the repose of her soul before interment at Glenkeen, the family burial place. Reverend J. O'Connor C.C. Killeen was celebrant at the High Mass. Reverend J. Cunningham P.P. Templederry Deacon, and Reverend J. MacDonald C.C. Subdeacon. Beautiful wreaths were sent specially from Castle Otway and from surrounding neighbours, without distinction of creed or class, expressing sympathy with the relatives of the deceased, who was much beloved among all classes. The funeral was one of the largest from the parish, notwithstanding the severity of the day, and the prayers at graveside were recited by the above-named clergy. In addition to her children, John, James and William, Thomas from London, Mrs. Clark from Bantry, Mrs. Ryan Kiltormer Galway, Patrick Templederry, also were Mr. Smith, our crony brother, Messrs. P. J. Flanagan, J. Joe Dwyer, J. Fogarty, national teachers, Hogan of Maroon, J. Hogan, M. Hogan, and P. Murray of Templederry. Now, Patrick Reardon actually mentioned there her son. The very same church in Templederry, that man also buried in the same grave as his mother. He had a very lucky escape in 1909. Himself and a man by the name of Patrick MacDonald were actually working on the belfry of the church. And any of you that are familiar with Templeberry Church know that there's an ornamental railing running along the ridge of the roof. Consequently, when they went about erecting ladders, they weren't actually able to hook the roof ladder over the top of the roof. And they decided to, let's say, work by just tying the roof ladder to the top of the standing ladder. And as they progressed up along the roof, the standing ladder actually started to slide, dragging the roof ladder from the roof. Tom MacDonald plunged to his death, being, let's say, mortally injured in the fall to the ground. As he slid down along the roof, Patrick Reardon somehow or other just managed to grab hold of the chute, which was the gutter of the church, and he hung for a number of minutes, as long as he could maintain his grip, before eventually having to just let go and drop to the ground. He dropped over 30 feet, shattering one of his ankles severely, and with the result he spent actually many months in Nina Hospital in recovering from it. However, he did survive, but MacDonald was less fortunate. So the Reardon grave is just back here behind. Remember Joanna Reardon and her part in the Fenian Rising in Burnham.